Have you ever stopped to think about the invisible architecture of our world? I mean, look around. The phone in your hand, the money in your bank, even the way you talk to your friends, it's all being shaped quietly by lines of code. Today, we're going to pull back that curtain and look at the code that is literally rewriting the rules of our lives.
So that's the big question we're tackling, right? Is our world really being built on code? And if so, what does that foundation actually look like?
All right, let's start with something we all get: money. I mean, the very idea of what money is and how we use it is going through this massive change. It's shifting from something physical you keep in your pocket to something that's run by a digital protocol. And here's the thing you might not realize. Pretty much all of us are already using digital currency. The vast majority of our money isn't actually cash. It's just numbers on a bank's computer, right? You access it with a card or an app. It's money that exists only as data.
But, and this is a big but, not all digital money is the same. It really all boils down to one key difference: centralized versus decentralized. On one side, you've got the traditional banks, where a government or a big institution is in charge. On the other side, you have this totally new model, where the system just runs on the trust between its users. No middleman.
So this is the system we all grew up with. When you buy a coffee, your money doesn't just magically jump from your account to the store's. Nope. It gets routed through a central bank that's watching over and approving the whole thing. It's a classic top-down model of control. And honestly, it's how money has worked for a very long time. And this is where a wild new idea comes into play: cryptocurrency. It's a special kind of digital money that's built on that decentralized idea. So you might be asking, if there's no bank, what stops it from being total chaos? Well, the answer is right there in the name: cryptography. It uses really complex code to build security and trust right into the money itself. So how does that actually work? It uses a system called a blockchain. Instead of one bank holding the ledger is shared with everyone on the network. So when you make a transaction, it's basically broadcast to the whole network. Everyone checks to make sure it's legit, and then it gets locked into a public chain forever. It's a huge shift from trusting an institution to trusting the code. Okay, so code is changing our money, but it's also changing something much more personal: our information. Every single time you go online, you leave behind this trail of data, and that trail is incredibly valuable, which leads to this kind of creepy question. In this new digital world, are you the product? The process of turning your digital footprint into something profitable? That's called data mining. A good way to think about it is like panning for gold. But instead of sifting through riverbeds, companies are sifting through these massive, massive databases of everything we do online, looking for patterns, trends, and valuable little nuggets of information about us. Now, this isn't some random, chaotic free-for-all. It's actually a super structured process. There's even an industry standard for it called the CRISP DM model. You can basically think of it as the scientific method for finding secrets hidden in data. It's a blueprint that makes sure the results are real and meaningful, not just a bunch of random noise. See, it's a really deliberate process, step by step. You don't just dive in and look for patterns. You have to start by understanding the actual business problem you're trying to solve. From there, you clean up the data, you build models, and you test everything until you finally have an insight you can trust enough to use in the real world. So where is all this being used? Well, one of the biggest areas is national security, where government agencies sift through enormous amounts of data, trying to spot potential threats. And of course, it's the engine of modern business. It's how online stores analyze everything you've ever bought or browsed to predict what you're going to want next. It's why those ads can feel so specific. But it also has this incredible potential for good. In healthcare, for example, researchers are mining patient data to discover new drug treatments, to improve how we diagnose diseases, and even to catch fraud. But all this power comes with some really serious downsides. I mean, the privacy issues are just massive. If you start with bad data, you get bad results. And then there's this scary idea of mission creep, where data they collected for one thing gets used for something totally different later on. usually without you ever knowing about it. And that brings us right to the places where we create so much of this data: social networks. They were designed to bring us all closer together, but they've created this weird paradox where we can feel more connected and, at the exact same time, more alone than ever.
So, what's the tech behind it? Well, at its core, it's pretty simple. It's a client-server model. Your phone or your laptop, that's the client, is constantly talking to a big, powerful central computer, the server. It's that simple back and forth that allows these huge, real-time, global conversations to happen instantly. And let's be honest, the good parts have been revolutionary. We can stay in touch with family on the other side of the planet, build entire communities around our hobbies, and organize for social change in ways that were just impossible a generation ago.
But, and this is the huge but, every single one of those good things has a dark side. The same platforms can trigger anxiety and depression, spread misinformation like wildfire, and become places for bullying, harassment, and all sorts of awful behavior. So, code has already reshaped our money, our data, and our social lives. But believe me, this wave is far from over. So now let's take a quick look at 4 emerging technologies that are getting ready to change the world all over again. First up, the big one: artificial intelligence, or AI. This is all about creating systems that can think, learn, and solve problems like a person. It's the brain inside everything from self-driving cars to programs that can diagnose diseases, and it is getting smarter every single day. Next, we have augmented reality, or AR. Now, this is different from virtual reality. Instead of creating a whole new digital world, AR just adds digital layers onto our world. Think of a surgeon seeing a patient's vital signs projected right onto their field of view during an operation. It's like giving us digital superpowers. Then, of course, you've got robotics. This is basically where AI gets a physical body. Robots are doing more and more of the jobs that are too dangerous, too boring, or just too precise for a human to do. Everything from building cars to exploring Mars. And finally, there's 3D printing. This technology is incredible. It literally takes a digital file and builds a physical object from it, layer by tiny layer. It's completely changing how we make things, from custom medical implants printed just for you to building a prototype of a new invention in a single afternoon. So when you put it all together, decentralized money, data mining, social media, AI, they're all driven by code. They offer us this incredible, amazing future, but they also bring up these huge questions about who's in control, what privacy even means anymore, which leaves us with one final thing to think about. As all this technology gets faster and more powerful, who exactly is in the driver's seat?